Hey everyone, this is the Anonymous Coder. What's up? It's been a long time since we last met, but nevertheless, I'm back with something really interesting I found recently. It's a website where you need to create interesting shapes with just HTML and CSS. So it's a fun way to actually practice your CSS properties and learn few quirks about CSS which you never knew existed. And all while playing a game. Yes, it's a game. The game is that the shape needs to be created in the least possible code. It's called code golfing, where you need to do something in the least possible code. This website is called CSSBattle. And today, in this video, I'm gonna pick up one such shape and create it all in CSS. I hope this is interesting and you learn a few things about CSS watching me code. Let's begin this. So you can play this game on CSSBattle.dev. As you can see on the home page, there are a lot of battles here. Most of them have finished already, but there's one battle which is currently running. And if you see, each battle has a lot of these shapes, these images. They call them targets here, which are sort of levels you need to clear and get scored on. So we're gonna pick one such target for today. Also, you have the global leaderboard here, which you can see, where you can see the top players on CSSBattle, and also the activity timeline, which shows people breaking records in amazing character counts. Cool. So for this video, I'm gonna pick one image from the first ever battle, and I guess the third one looks pretty interesting. Let's create this. So this is called a push button, as the image represents. So right now we are on the play screen where you actually play, and the interface is pretty simple. On the leftmost side, you have the editor where you need to write the code to create that image. And in the middle pane, you can see the output of your character. And this is a pretty handy tool that you get. You can slide on the output, your code's output, and compare it easily with the actual target image. And of course, on the rightmost side, you have the image, the target, which you need to recreate in CSS. So let's start coding up. So first of all, I'm going to remove all the comments from here because we don't really need them. And then I think I'll go with the existing div that we get as the boilerplate. Cool. So first of all, let's fix the color for this div. All the colors required in a particular target are listed here in the palette, which can simply be clicked and copied in the clipboard. And then I can simply paste here and get the right color. Okay. We have the color right. Now let's fix the dimension of this div. It's much less than 100, or maybe lower. Okay, that seems okay. So we need to get this yellow thing in the center. Now I can use grid or flex properties to get it aligned in the center, but for this game I'll be relying on absolute positioning so that I can place everything at pixel perfect positions. Now understand that this is not the right method when you're writing CSS for actual websites where you need to take care about things like responsiveness, but for the game I think that should be okay. So I'm gonna position my div in an absolute manner so that next I can tweak the positions. I'm gonna just put some random numbers here and then tweak it to the right position. This is quite down. This looks okay. And the left should be somewhere in the middle, which is 200 pixels, but a little back. Okay, this looks good. Now we can use the slide tool to actually compare it. So I think first thing, what I'll do first is actually create this into a circle so that we can get a better comparison. And to make this and to convert this into a circle, I'll be using the border radius trick. So the trick is that you can give an element a 50% border radius, so that makes the border radius 50% of the width and makes it look like a circle. There we have our circle, which is not at the right position, and I think it's a little big than what we need. 50 should be good. Yeah, that looks okay. Let's position it at the right place. one neat little trick that you can use is I can position the slider at the right place so that I can get a real-time preview when I'm actually tweaking the code. So now I can just tweak the positions here. 125 looks okay, and we need to go more left, more right. 175. That looks perfect. We have the circle in the right dimensions and at the right place. That's good. To make it closer to the target image, let's put in a background color. I'm gonna target the body tag here and put in some background color. Now notice I ideally would be going with background color to put in just color, but since this is a code golfing game and we need to save in some characters, so I'll just use the background property for now. And this needs to be light blue. I just click it, copy and paste. Perfect. We have the background color in place. Next, we need this dark blue ring outside our yellow circle. Now what I'm going to use for this ring is box shadow. Box shadow can be used to create a shadow around any element, and you can also tweak the shadow to be 0 so that it doesn't look blur but actually a solid opaque shadow around any element. So let's do that. Let's put in some box shadow. We don't need any offset in X or Y direction. The third parameter is actually the blur of the shadow, which again should be 0 in our case. And then we need to specify the actual spread, the amount of shadow that we need. In our case, we need somewhere around 30 pixels or a little more, maybe 50. That looks good. But if you notice that it's black color right now, and that's because we have not specified any color and the default one is black. So let's put in the right color here, which is the dark blue color, and I'm gonna put it as the last parameter in box shadow. Perfect. Now we have the dark blue ring around outside our yellow circle. The next thing that I'll be creating is this rectangle thing behind our circle. Now it might not look like a rectangle, but if you notice, the circle is actually overlapping a rectangle, which creates this clipped rectangle sections at the end. So for the rectangle, I'm going to put in one more div here. I'm going to give it a class called rect to target it, and then let's start styling. It should have a background of same dark blue color, and it should have some dimensions. Let's put in some placeholder dimensions for now. Okay, so I think we have a problem here. What's happening right now is you can see the rectangle having some border radius on it, and that's because the last styling that we did was on the div element, and since rectangle is also a div, the previous styles are getting applied on a rectangle. So the fix is simple. We won't be styling the div directly, but instead let's give it a class to say circle, and that we have different styles on different elements and there's no conflicts anymore. We can independently style a rectangle. Cool. So let's fix the position of the rectangle first. Notice it's not position absolute anymore, so let's do that. Okay, so 100 is a little bit more than what we need. I think 75 should be good. Yeah, that's right. And then to position it horizontally, we'll use the left property. 100 pixels. That's too much. 50 looks okay. Cool. Let's work on the dimension now. So if you notice, the rectangle is 50 pixels from the left and 50 pixels from the right. And since the whole image is 400 pixels, subtracting 100 pixels in total would leave us with 300 pixels. So the width has to be 300 pixels here. And there we have it. And all that's left is to get the right height here. Should be 150. Yeah, we hit the right number here. So we have a perfect rectangle, but if you notice, the circle and the ring has now gone behind the rectangle, and that's because in our DOM we have the rectangle after the circle, and hence it overlaps the circle. The fix is really easy. All we need to do is bring the circle up by giving a Z index, and there you have it. The circle is now on top of the rectangle. Of course, the ring is not visible because the color is same as the rectangle behind it, and it's merged into it. So the final thing that's left here is creating one more ring around a dark blue ring. Now this might look as a negative space between the rectangle and the ring, but it's actually a ring that's around a circle, and because it's has the same color as the background, it sort of gives you an illusion of negative space. But really what we need is another ring. And to create that second ring, we're going to use the box shadow again. So the box shadow property can accept multiple box shadow definitions. We can just separate them with a comma, and you can define one more box shadow here. So again, no offsets, no blur radius. We need a more spread right now. We need more spread than the previous ring. It seems double the amount of previous spread, which is 50 pixels. So there we go. Yes, as you can see, we get the perfect ring which we need. All that's left is to give it the right color, and it's exactly the same as the background. There we go. Exact visual recreated in just CSS. And just to be sure, let's use the slider tool to verify that it looks exactly the same. Yep, I think we have it perfectly done. It's time to submit it and see what score we can get. I hope we get a 100% match. Okay, and there we go. It's a 100% match. We got a 604.67 score in just 467 characters. Now, since we have a 100% match on our code, let's work on the code golfing aspect a bit. Now we need to get a better score, we need to golf our code. That is, reduce the actual character count in a code. Now there are multiple tricks people generally use in code golfing, ranging from beginner to intermediate to advanced. We'll start with some pretty basic ones, and the most basic one is actually removing the unnecessary spaces and new lines, because they don't actually contribute to the output and is just for indentation, alignment, and better readability. So I'll quickly go ahead and remove all the spaces and the new lines from the code. That's a boring task. I wish we had an automated way of removing these. Cool. So I have removed the spaces and new lines, but there might be a few left here and there because I just removed whatever I could see at a glance. But as you can see, we have removed a lot of spaces. But as you can see, we have reduced our character count by a lot. We were on 467 on our last submission, and now we are on 358. So that should get us a good improved score now. Let's try submitting. We were on 604.67, and yep, we have a better score now, which is 613. Cool. To reduce the character count a bit further, I'm going to use a trick which is also listed on the tips and tricks page on CSSBattle. Instead of defining a class on your elements and using that as the selector while styling it, what you can do is give some random attribute to your elements. For example, this is a circle, so let's give it a C attribute. Now this is a valid HTML. It doesn't have a value, but there's an attribute placed, and there's a way to target any element using the attribute selector. We can wrap the attribute in a square bracket to actually select the element. So this is how we are targeting our div with the attribute C, and similar for the rectangle, we can give it an attribute of R and then use the attribute selector to target that element. Cool. So that saves us few more characters. We were on 358 and now 327. That's a pretty good trick. Let's submit it again to get a new improved score. 617 it is. Okay, so I think we are in a very good state now. We have 100% match. We have done some code golfing. We have reduced our character count to 327 characters, which is like 2 less now, to actually create this wonderful shape. So this would be it for this video. I hope this was an interesting video and you learned a few tips and tricks about CSS. If you would like me to create more such videos on CSSBattle, do let me know in the comment section below. And if you are new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button right here. I'll see you all in the next video. Till then, this is the Anonymous Coder signing off. Bye bye.